Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, I was browsing around on Untapped like I usually do. I love going to the deck section and then sorting by Diamond and Master and then win rate and just seeing what decks out there are getting the highest win rate. By the way, if you're ever interested in checking out the Untapped companion and or using their website to browse decks like I do, definitely check out link in the description below. I have an affiliate link for Untapped, and using that is hugely helpful. So if you choose to do so, I am greatly appreciative of that. Thank you very much. But anyway, long story short, yeah, I was just browsing around looking at decks with high win rate. Came across not just one, but a couple of Runick Spright variants. I do love Spright. I feel like that's very obvious by this point. And this is not a variant I've played in quite some time, because as much as I do actually defend this deck being Runick, I am not the biggest fan of actually playing Runick. I gotta level with y'all. One of the reasons I hate playing Runick the most is that I always forget to click battle phase. So then by the time I actually need to battle, it gets skipped, and I'm like, oh yeah, I had to do that. But I don't know, after playing this variant, I had a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. Maybe I'm just in the control deck mood, because we did, of course, recently play Bestial Control here on the channel the other day. Or it could just be my love of Spright. Persevering over my slight, not even disdain, slight annoyance, I guess, towards Runick. I don't really find them annoying. Anyway, I find playing Runick cards more annoying than playing against them, honestly. So, yeah, this is a variant. I pretty much plucked this card for card from Untapped. Although, to be fair, it's pretty much what I would do with a Runick Spright build anyway. I think maybe the only difference is I might play a different board breaker instead of evenly. Although I will say that I do think playing some amount of board breakers in Runick is pretty important. I'm generally not a fan of playing cards like evenly in a deck like this that does want to go first, but Runick Spright and Runick variants in general tend to have like very few hand traps, and the natural board breaking ability of the Runick cards is actually kind of low when it comes to breaking a full board with stuff like, you know, flashing fire and freezing curses. So I think whether it's Lava Golem or evenly or something else, having a board breakers is pretty important. Maybe even just Droplet. Although, to be fair, I don't know how many extra cards this deck is always going to end on. True, you do get to ideally draw a few cards off the fountain, but is that something you can always account for? Not necessarily, actually. You'll notice that we're playing Spright Smashers, a Spright card I have not played in quite some time. In a lot of my other recent builds, I tend to prefer the Gamma Burst for OTK potential, but being a Runick variant, we're not going to necessarily try to be OTKing with battle. Runick Spright, like many Runick variants, is a control deck at its heart, right? So we are looking to basically outpace the opponent in terms of our removal versus theirs, and also our gaining advantage versus theirs. And of course, that's where the whole Runick engine comes in. But the Spright Smashers, which is of course searchable by Jet, can also definitely help with that. And again, we're going to be skipping most of our battle phases anyway, so it just makes sense to play this over something like Gamma Burst. Fountain to 1 is still... it's a little annoying. I will say, playing any Runick variant with 1 Fountain, it's a little annoying knowing that SP Banish is just going to like wreck your whole strategy. Well, not your whole strategy with a variant like this, but a good portion of it, right? Haven't really had that happen this session, but that is something else that lately kind of makes me a little averse to Runick. I've always said and will continue to say that, like, let's just put Tip to 1 and Fountain to 2. I think that would be perfectly acceptable. In spite of that, we do still, of course, play through Hugin, in spite of the fact that we are only on 1 Fountain, because, of course, Hugin is a level 2, which, I don't know if you know this, but that's kind of an important level for the Spright deck. But yeah, I mean, that's also why our extra deck looks a little bit different from a lot of other Spright extra decks, is because we're playing more of a control deck. That's why we're not playing Downward Zeus, also duh, Runick, no battle phases. That's why we're playing stuff like Jin Buster, second SP. Airly has not come up for me. I gotta be real, Airly doesn't really come up for me in any Spright variant outside of Tri-Sprite, which naturally plays it as part of the turn 1 end board. Obviously, the idea is that you put this under Elf. I guess maybe the idea is that instead of going like Elf IP, a lot of the time you do just go like Elf Airly, and then you can use this as an additional negate to help control the board. Maybe? I don't know. But I didn't find myself summoning it that much, or at all, I guess, really, for this variant. But I do summon this in Tri-Sprite quite a bit. Second SP, I get. There's a part of me that almost wants to say there might be a better extra deck slot, but now that I'm actually looking, I don't know if I know what it is. I think I might have played Underworld Goddess over Appaloosa, but I don't think this is bad either. But I will say, yeah, in grind games, which this deck we'll get into quite a bit, the second Little Knight does actually seem like it would be quite useful. You know what, on second thought, I'd probably keep the second Little Knight. Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of this list is pretty self-explanatory. Eperia, of course, for playing. You don't usually play this in a lot of Sprite builds because a lot of Sprite builds, you're more interested in board building than just sitting there drawing cards over and over again every turn with Elf. But again, we're a control deck, so we definitely do want to be doing that. Alright, why don't we just go ahead and break the list down card by card and then start getting into these games. We're on 3 Maxi, 3 Eperia, 2 Sprite Blue, 2 Sprite Jet, 1 Sprite Red, 1 Sprite Carrot, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Runick Fountain, 2 Call by the Grave, 2 Runick Tip, 3 Runick Flashing Fire, 1 Runick Destruction, 2 Runick Freezing Curses, 2 Runick Slumber, 2 Runick Smiting Storm, 1 Runick Golden Droplet, 2 Runick Dispelling, 3 Sprite Starter, 1 Sprite Smashers, and 3 Evenly Matched. There's our main deck. For the extra, we are on 3 Hugin, the Runick Wings, 1 Jerry, the Runick Fangs, 1 number 65 Jinbuster, 2 Gigantic Sprite, 1 Superstar Slayer Typhoon, Sky Crisis, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Sprite Elf, 1 Pit Knight Airly, 2 SP Little Knight, and finally 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. There is our list. Let's check out these duels. Why don't we start with a little bit of a control mirror match. We're going to be playing our Runick Spright up against this opponent's Labyrinth deck. So of course when you're playing a control mirror, the elements of making sure that you're drawing or getting more cards than your opponent and removing more cards than your opponent is crucial. I'm going to start by normal summoning Eperia, drawing a Flashing Fire off of that, special summon Sprite Jet. Going to add Smashers because we already have Starter. Now we're going to go for the overlay, going to summon our Gigantic. I decided to do this before my Runick stuff because I already have Starter, so I want to bait negates with the Sprite cards, and then I can use my Runick cards to resolve the Hugin here. Since I now have Sprite Red on board, I'm much more comfortable using the Hugin to discard the Called By here. Don't want to discard anything else. I want Flashing Fire up for the opponent's turn, I want Sprite Starter to get Carrot here, and I want Smashers for the opponent's turn as well. Here we're going to use Elf, bring back the Eperia. It's once per turn, so we don't get a second draw, but we can link off the Eperia and the Gigantic Sprite into our IP Masquerena. Now from there, I'm going to use the Starters. We're going to grab Carrot, set Smashers, and then pass. So we have a ton of points of interaction here. We have Red and Carrot for negates. We have IP, Flashing Fire, and Sprite Smashers. That's 5 points of interaction right there, right off the bat. We also have the Eperia in our graveyard that we can cycle for some more draws. Oh, also on the untapped point, I have a lot of people asking about certain features like hovering over the graveyard and being able to see cards in it. That is another feature of Untapped. Again, if you're interested, link in the description below. But okay, they're gonna set a card. As soon as I have the chance to, I want to use my Eperia to draw here. Wanted to try to get another Runick spell, but Maxi I'll definitely settle for. As I go to end main, I'm going to activate IP, going into SP Little Knight. We'll banish one of the cards they just set. End up being Ice Dragon's Prison, which is not a bad hit. I would have preferred to have hit like a Welcome Lab, but also seeing Ice Dragon's Prison, I pretty much know it's Lab at this point. They actually have a second Ice Dragon's Prison. They are going to grab the Sprite Blue here as I try to bring back Eperia. I'm going to use Carrot to negate the Ice Dragon's Prison because I really want my Elf to stay around. Elf is going to be pretty important to getting this continuous advantage. Again, just cycling this Eperia, drawing a card every turn, my turn and my opponent's. Bringing back stuff like Carrot and Red to continuously have negates up. Alright, so here I'm actually going to link SP into another SP and try to get rid of my opponent's last face down card here. This does force it, it's the Karma Cannon. But what I can do is I can use SP, and you'll notice that my targets here were actually Elf and Carrot. I didn't even use the Karma Cannon to save the SP itself. In this matchup, I value the Elf and the Carrot a lot more highly. Carrot obviously can negate spell and traps, which my opponent's going to be playing a lot of, and Elf can actually just revive SP Little Knight once my opponent plays a monster, so... But yeah, I definitely wanted to force that face down card to activate here. I did not like it just sitting on the field there, so... Skipping our battle phase, of course. Little Knight gets our stuff back. End phase, we're going to use some furniture, but we have Spright Carrot, so that is completely fine. And fun fact, Spright Carrot just says Tribute, which means I can tribute my face down Spright Blue. So we're definitely going to use that to negate the big Welcome Lab. Definitely do not want that to be an issue here. Main phase, are going to normal summon the Chandraglair. I'm going to use this opportunity to activate Elf, bring back my SP Little Knight. Again, why I didn't just banish it. But I am actually just going to banish it here with the Sprite Smashers, because again, I would just rather have Elf and Carrot. And there you go. As you saw, we reduced our opponent down to only one card left in their hand by the end of the duel, while we had 4, as well as Fountain, Carrot, and Elf, to continuously generate both advantage and negation. This is exactly why I wanted to start by showing this game, because this is a prime example of how this, and really control decks in general play, but this control deck in particular, how it generates the advantage, how it keeps the negates coming, and that's really how these decks win without OTK. I know in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's really weird, especially to see Sprite, which can very easily OTK, not on the OTK, and be like, well, how do you close out games then? And I could not give a more picture-perfect example than this one here. So, now that we've seen that, let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. Alright, let's show a game against Tenpai next. We did win this coin flip, so... We are going to be, well, of course, we're taking the first turn at Tenpai, but we don't necessarily know that our opponent's on Tenpai. Okay, they're going to actually lead with Mulch Army Perulia, shotgunning that. That's not a bad sign, although I guess to be fair, they could draw one later. I was going to say, because if they had Fulos or Maxi, I feel like they would have shotgunned that too, but maybe they could draw one off the Perulia. Anyway, they actually impermed my Apuria, which I didn't even normal summon Apuria as bait. I was just trying to get a draw before I started my plays, and I'm like, oh. Okay, we'll take that. So, I'm going to go for the Fountain here. Use my Golden Droplet to summon Hugin. And now I'm going to overlay for Gigantic. I'm going to save my tip. Just see if my opponent has any more interaction and see if there's something more specific I need to search. Too bad I get a chance to discard this evenly here, but it's not that big of a deal. So they're going to Ash Blossom the Gigantic Sprite here. In that case, I'm going to activate Tip. We're going to draw Runick Dispelling. Maybe I should have gotten a different Runick card. You could make the argument, although I guess I don't have anything to bring back. Well, I would once I linked. So you could make the argument that I could activate Dispelling, summon Hugin, and then not only draw 3, but then also link for Elf, and then that's the thing, like I don't even have anything great to bring back at that point. So that's why I decided to activate Dispelling and just hold it. Also, the reason I got Dispelling in particular is because I thought this was the most likely card to be able to interact well with Tenpai. Because think about it, right? Like I mean, I could just get Freezing Curses to try and negate, but I didn't want to risk them having the Sangen summoning. Whereas between, like, Sangen Kaiman and the Sangen Summoning and Hydra, they're, like, always going to be adding cards. So, my thought process, because once I saw Perulia, I was like, okay, this is probably just Tenpai. My thought process was like, okay, this is probably the best card to counter Tenpai with. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but we'll see how this game plays out. They're going to normal summon Dora Dora, adding the Genroku. Now they're going to use Genroku's effect here to try to special summon. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go for the Dispelling Snipe now, but I'm also going to Maxi in case I miss, right? And even if I do hit and they don't combo off, that's completely fine. And look at that! I actually managed to discard the Genroku with the Runick Dispelling. I mean, 1 in 4, 25% is not horrible odds. And again, even if we had whiffed, we still had Maxi to potentially draw more Runick spells to help us out. But that was kind of cool. I'll get my draw 1 here, because why not? A Dora Dora finds Nib, and then just passes back over to me. Drawing for turn, getting Jet, going to... Did I normal or I special, right? Yeah, special summon Jet. Oh, well, duh, because I added, of course. It would have had to have been a special summon. going for blue. Now, remember, because I've played Runick spells, I can't actually battle here. So, I can't, like, even without Ganon Burst, I could, if I could battle OTK here, but... So it's really more about just board building and board, like, setup than anything else. Also, I should have activated Smiting Storm sooner for a Hugin. The extra body would have been a lot better than just banishing the top card of my opponent's deck there. But I think it's fine. So... yeah, they're just going to surrender at that point, and that makes sense, because think about it, like, we sniped their Genroku off of Dora Dora last turn, that ended their turn, so we know they don't have plays in hand. And we can end on, like, Elf, Red, Carrot, IP, we have another Dispelling in case they start adding stuff. We still have the Smashers that we never used. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't touch on. Another reason why I was fine adding Dispelling, or even having Dispelling with, is that we did, of course, have a face-down Spright Smashers. So that would have also bailed us out if we really needed to. But of course, I would have preferred to have kept my Gigantic with 2 materials on if possible. And it worked out, so cool. All right. Got one more game to show you before we finish off. Let's go into that one. Our final game is going to be up against Mathmech. Mathmech. I love this deck. You know, it's funny. I was watching, like, some Josh Schmidt videos yesterday, and, like, I have to skip the Mathmech games. Not because, like, oh, I love Mathmech so much, and no one's ever allowed to shit-talk decks I like. I just, like, really am not a big fan of, like, perpetuating that, like, kind of mentality in the community. I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying anything against Joshua Schmidt, and of course you're allowed to like and dislike whatever decks you like or dislike. I don't know. I was watching a video last night, and he was like, Mathmech, can we just ban Circular? We all hate it. And it's like, well, no, that's not true. And even if I don't think that he believes that full-heartedly, there are so many, like, people out there who just parrot whatever the opinions the best players espout that are going to take that to heart and think that's 100% true. So, like, I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about. Anyway, going into this game here against Mathmech, we're going to lead with Runick Flashing Fire to summon ourselves a Hugin. We get to use the Hugin here to pitch evenly. I guess it is one reason why it's not bad to play evenly in a deck like this, is because you can always just pitch it off Hugin, but... I mean, we still had that game. Actually, I think both games we had an instance of drawing in evenly we couldn't pitch or do anything with, but it didn't really end up mattering. So, yeah, my opponent Valored the Hugin, which I don't think is bad, but I don't agree with ashing the Jet here. Like, I don't know. I almost never agree with using pretty much any amount of negate on blue or Jet. Obviously, there are situations where it is the right play, but especially on turn 1. And especially if I already have the ability to make a Gigantic anyway, it's like, don't you know that's what I'm going to go into? I don't know, maybe not. It's kind of easy to take that for granted, having deck knowledge of a deck you're really familiar with that your opponent might not necessarily. So this is going to be a weaker turn 1 end board than most, but it does come with the caveat that my opponent had to use 2 hand traps. So they're going to be starting on a 4-card hand. We have Elf into Red is 1 interaction, IP is 2 interactions, Flashing Fire is 3 interactions, and we have a Maxi. 3 interactions and a Maxi going into our opponent's 4-card hand. I feel pretty good about that. They're going to lead with the Mathmech Circular. I'm going to immediately not only activate Maxi, but I should also be activating Elf here as well, yes. There's actually a reason I activated Maxi first, specifically, because if my opponent had chained Call By, I could activate Elf, bring back Maxi, and then it would resolve because it's no longer in the graveyard to be able to be banished. That's not a play I've done recently, but it's one that I still felt the need to mention here. But no Call By, so we get to bring back Red instead. Sigma Summon is fine. When Circular activates, that's when I'm going to use Red. I'm going to sack Elf to negate and destroy. So now, not only does the Mathmech player not get a search, but now they need an extra body in hand, an extender, to be able to combo off, like, at all here. So they decide to move to Battle Phase to try to hit my IP Masquerena, but I'm just going to use Flashing Fire at this point and pop their Sigma. So now, oh yeah, let's let's show the 2 mills here. It was Defender and Circular, Defensor rather, and Circular, which is ridiculously good. So my opponent could still pop off here, but it would require them having, like... oh, they have a normal summon. I guess it could have, like, Diameter, but It would require them having a normal summon plus an extender. That still could be a lot of things. It could be any hand trap plus addition, subtraction, parallel exceed, dotscaper, one of them going to terahertz here, etc., etc. There are actually still a lot of plays the Mathmech player could do at this point. Fortunately for me, they have them. So they're just going to concede here. But there is also, of course, the caveat that any plays they would make would give me draws off max C. Also, at any point, I can just IP into SP, and with the correct timing, that would be enough to stop their whole combo line. So yeah, nice little game against Mathmech to close out there. That one we did not have access to Fountain, but the max C definitely fulfilled the drawing during the opponent's turn portion there. So, all right. I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. So thank you, as always, for watching. I super appreciate you. Why don't we move on to our outro? Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.